Okay, perfect. Well, I'm just going to go really quickly, not quickly, but if you have any questions, feel free to just stop. But again, we're going to record this and put all the resources out. So if you know the backstory, the federal government is, under the Trump administration, is trying to delist wolves nationally. So that's all wolves in the lower 48 states. Wolves in Alaska are not protected except for within the national parks. And even that, unfortunately, is under threat. But the most important thing we can do is to make our comments to the Department of the Interior. So that's under Bernhardt. And there is a link. Here's our website. Here is a link. And this is by Britt, who's on the call, who does a job that I could never do on our website and is an awesome writer. And she's the one that maintains, so I'll give her a round of applause. But here you can see our website. And it is wisconsinwolvesandwildlife.org. You can go down and just simply click on this link, and it will take you to the Federal Register, to where we would want to submit our comments. I'm actually not going to click that because I have it already up. So if you click that link, it's going to take you to this page, which looks a little intimidating for a lot of people that maybe this is their first time they've commented. But this is the Federal Register is under the National Archive. It's under the actual Records Administration. So if you were commenting on any policy, this is where you would go, whether it's wildlife or it's, healthcare. So you can see here, if you can see my cursor, I don't know if you're just on the phone or the computer, but you can see here, it's a proposed rule by U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Underneath that, you can see you're submitting an official comment. And so the hard part is, it looks like you can just go in here and say, I love wolves, don't kill them, right? Like that would make sense. And then you'd go down and fill out your information and, click and submit. But this is where it gets very tricky. And I'm just going to show you why. So these are the comments for effective comments. So I'm actually going to start at the bottom, which seems weird, but so a lot of our organizations, wolf advocacy organizations, environmental, might send you kind of a form letter. But right here, and this is why we're encouraging people to go directly to the site, it will say to you, it says right here, we can do that, but you think your letter is a constitutive vote regarding the issue. That's not true. So support for, in our case, opposition to wolf delisting, they say may guide public policy for an action, but it says a simple, well-supported comment may carry more weight than 1,000 form letters. So that is the basis of why we are asking you to actually go to, I'm going to click that, this page rather than within, a form letter you would get. We certainly can send you to that link, but this is why it's so important. So if you go up, I'm not going to go through all of these rules, but just give you the summary. So a lot of it is they want support for the claims you make. It is not that you shouldn't give your cultural or emotional reasons. You can certainly put that in. In fact, we encourage you. If everything is similar, they'll kind of know that we did it by a form letter. But they ask us to, give opposing viewpoints or counter those. And there's also some other information down here. I'm going to go kind of slow to not make you dizzy. But, it talks about economic effects, the pros and cons, giving examples how it will impact you personally. And also, they really want things that are backed up by science and the best science that you can find. A lot of that, is outside of the agencies, but some of our points are within the agencies. I'm going to just pause there and see if anybody has any questions.
No.
Okay. So
I do have a question, Melissa.
Sure, go ahead.
Should we gear them to the lower 48, or should we gear them to Wisconsin because we're from Wisconsin, or what would you say?
That is an excellent question. So what we did is created, and I'm going to show you that here in a minute. Friends of the Wisconsin Wolf, our positions on why we oppose delisting, so that you can kind of see our arguments, and we have those backed up with citations. you can certainly use those. Ours are directed as Wisconsin only. That doesn't mean you couldn't use this training for your state, and I absolutely have every fact and citation about wolves almost memorized across the lower 48. I used to work with Endangered Species Coalition, and they are still a really wonderful partner group, and I can get you contacts with them if you live outside of Wisconsin. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to just kind of say like it's, you know, a sample, so that I am a, you know, Wisconsin resident coming in here. So what I'm going to just show you, and this will be up on our website. We apologize that we didn't get this up sooner. It's been really busy, and I've had some personal illness, I'm doing great. But so these are our points, like our bullet points. And what we decided to do was use the agency's own information against them, essentially. So we have here like the rules, this ESA would be the Endangered Species Act. Why shouldn't they be delisted? Because, and here you can see, I mean, I'm not gonna read this word for word, but you know, we can say, you know, they only exist in 1/10 of their historic range. Part of recovery of any species is making sure they can recover in a significant portion of their range. In our opinion, 1/10 is not good enough. So here in the Great Lakes, you know, would be a good point that they haven't gone to Michigan and the Lower Peninsula, and they haven't spread where they can in Missouri, Illinois, and the Dakotas. Certainly, that's the Endangered Species Act law that we believe. For this particular plan that U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is proposing, again, they want to delist in all lower 48 states. So that means all the states that don't have wolves, none of those wolves would be protected. That's kind of the summary on that. And then, you know, a lot of times what we did formulating our ideas of you know, how to address this properly, and I'll go into the hearing that's on Friday as well, is to kind of think about what our opposition might say and provide backing data to oppose them. A lot of the special interests like to lie. That's a fact. So here we have deer, and you know, you can take out only just like 1 or 2 sentences if you want, or put it into your own words. But overall, I mean, I think, you know, here's all these numbers, and I got those from the Wisconsin DNR. But you can see for every 9 wolves in northern Wisconsin, there's 16,000 deer for them. So wolves consume only 1.25% of the deer herd in northern Wisconsin. So obviously they, you know, are not impacting the deer herd. Also, you know, I've got other facts in here that came from the DNR saying that deer are actually increasing with the high levels of wolves, and the reasons for that. CWD, you don't need to know all the dynamics of it, but you know, it's a scary disease. It's spreading rapidly, and this is not a time where we want to eliminate a predator that may be able to at least slow down the spread. Eliminate it, no, but certainly slow it down. And for that, we kind of decided, you know, they often talk about the losses that we would experience because of wolves, that people wouldn't be able to hunt. But we're going to show how much it costs just to fight the CWD when we have a natural predators. The other thing we went with is just because also we have the data to back it up. But deer-related collisions are $4,000 in claims per person in the United States. So, you know, collisions with deer hitting cars and cars hitting deer, that kills many more deer than wolves ever would. I'm not going to try to go too into this. I feel like I'm rushing everyone, but I just want to make sure we get the information. One of our other strong stands is that we oppose baiting and we oppose hounding. This has a little less facts, but from the DNR's website, there has been an increase over the past 10 years, actually double interest in hunting bears. We also oppose sport hunting of bears. So this, we really go into, again, the economic costs on the people who don't do this practice, which, you know, really increases conflict with wolves. We also make a point to note that these are not pet dogs, that these are working dogs that are not treated like a pet necessarily. And then also, you know, we've spent $850,000 paying off the people who who unpurposely put their dogs in harm's way. So, you know, I'm kind of giving you an example of reading this and putting it in my own words. You know, you can summarize to just give you some ideas. This next category is a little bit trickier, but we're going to put instructions on the website. So we know that non-lethal methods work, and they work better than lethal methods if wolves are preying on your cows or your sheep. So what we did here with this is, one thing they don't consider is that when wolves are delisted, farmers will lose grants. So right now we pay for livestock losses and we pay to help farmers coexist with wolves. That money goes away. It's gone. So you're going to have a farmer maybe that's having a problem with wolves, a legitimate problem, and he or she is not going to be able to be reimbursed for their losses. Our state law says that money will come from wolf hunt fees. Well, we don't have a hunt yet. So they could possibly actually really be harming hunters in this delisting, something they don't ever want to bring up. Getting down a little further, this is information from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So again, this is just showing how exaggerated the damage wolves do to livestock. Essentially, they're a non-issue. They're just not significant. So I'll just kind of go down to where Wisconsin is. So 100,000 cows die by natural cause in Wisconsin every year. So it could be illness, the weather. Wolf losses were 68 last year, according to the USDA. Now, what's interesting is the Department of Agriculture has much higher numbers than Wisconsin does. So when we look at Wisconsin's data, it was 24 in 2018. So you can see 0.02% of livestock died due to wolves. So, you know, you have it's just not significant. And those people are reimbursed. Here we have this you may or may not want to do. This is me being kind of fighting back a little bit, but the USDA data, they use unverified livestock deprivations, meaning a farmer just said a wolf killed my animal and they count it. What's really interesting in their report is you can see those big differences, number 24 to 68. The rest of those came from states that don't have wolves, but were still counted to Wisconsin. It's a complex issue, but the data is used to justify wildlife service and killing. So there's a little politics in there. And then the ecological benefits, which I think most people who love wolves, this is probably one of your stronger points. For ours, we only included the effects. You know, I'm sure a lot of people have seen, you know, the video about Yellowstone and wolf reintroduction. But here we decided to go with studies that show that they're doing the same thing here in Wisconsin. So what's called trophic effects, or is having this large predator, helps balance the ecosystem, and it's actually really beneficial for plants. I put some other things here too. So in Isle Royale, they found out that wolf-killed carcasses are really good for nitrogen and nutrients for plants and soil. They certainly feed other animals. And then this was very interesting. At the national park, wolf kill benefits 3 times more species than human hunting. So when a wolf kills a deer, it's not just killing it, you know, it's not just the only animal benefiting. So then you can see here in Wisconsin, ravens, birds, fishers, martins, it goes on and on. But this was very interesting. 445 species of beetle actually feed off their kill sites. So when you're removing a wolf, you're also jeopardizing these other animals. I'm going to take another little pause and just see if anyone has questions.
I do have another question. But
sure.
Could you scroll back, please, to the hounding part?
Yes.
Okay. So let's see. Training occurs when wolves are raising pups and are more aggressive about protecting territory and young. If wolves are delisted, these bear hounders can train on these wolves 365 days a year. Is that correct, or do you mean to say bears?
Unfortunately, that is correct.
Okay.
So the wolf hunt allows them to use dogs to hunt, but they claim that they are training these hounds, like teaching the dogs how to pursue wolves. Okay.
I see.
Now these are the very same people who are literally going to our government agencies and complaining there's too many wolves, and the people we've paid $850,000 out to.
Right.
There is no regulation. They don't have to prove rabies. They don't have to have a license. Anyone could do it. You and I could just go do it. The day the wolves are delisted, we could take our dogs and go terrorize a wolf mother and her pups. That is a fact.
Is that
and there
just
is no regulation.
Is that just in Wisconsin?
That is just in Wisconsin.
Okay. Okay,
So,
that's what
yeah,
I thought.
I mean, we did tailor this obviously because we are a Wisconsin-based
Okay.
organization, and you know, we're really trying to do other things besides just this comment period. But this is basically, we don't really include in our official comment as an organization to the agency the emotional reasons, but that is not to say that that is not an absolute fine thing to say.
Okay.
Certainly, personally, that's how I feel. I think it's animal cruelty. I think it's cruel to dogs and to wolves and to all the other animals that they do this practice to. That's not to say you should, I guess like that's a good point, is these are just what our organization thinks, but a lot of people are like, well, what do I say? Well, you can read these and kind of take this and you can copy paste part of it. You can put it into your own words. The more original your comment is, the more influence you'll have, which is why we wanted to do the training.
So I wasn't sure how that was going to work, because I know before we had the wolf hunt, and then I'm kind of towards the tail end of it, I believe it was even the last year, that they tacked on and by the way, we want to use dogs, and then they passed that in the legislature. So I guess what I was wondering is if they're delisted, and if they're delisted, does that automatically mean okay, we're having a hunt and we're using dogs, or does everything have to start all over again? Like, yeah, they have to get permission to have a hunt, and they have to get permission to have dogs.
Sure. I think that's a great question, a question that we get often. So it will take a minute, like a minute, and I mean that in a very short amount of time, for, if delisting goes through and they say, yes, we're going to delist wolves across all of the lower 48, so almost the entire United States. They'll have to go into a rulemaking as soon as they are lifted for protection officially. So that can take, well, I don't know how to say this. I know how to say it. In a normal government, we're seeing some things that have never occurred before. Generally, the federal government is very slow and deliberate, and that is to give people an opportunity to participate. This administration is different. I have a feeling they will be ready to roll. So I'm not saying that so people should get upset, but I think maybe it is possible we could see a wolf hunt this fall. I'm hoping not. This isn't the only way you can advocate for this. This is just one thing we need people to do, so that we can say, you know what, I'm just going to go with hope. We had 10,000 people comment against wolf delisting in Wisconsin. That should reflect policy. Now here it won't, but we certainly could take that information to lawmakers, our congressmen, our senators, or our governor, or even within the agency, and say, we have this information. We were ignored by, frankly, this Trump administration. Now, this is all hypothetical, mind you. So that's why it's still really important to comment. We want to show, because it's true, that the majority of people in the United States love wolves and want them and don't want to see them, their recovery hurt or damaged in any way.
Well, I guess my real question was, if they're delisted, then does the so-called management, quote unquote, go back to the state of Wisconsin, and then everything has to start up in the state legislature again, or is there just automatically a hunt if they're delisted? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. So right now it's kind of like, let's say you're listening to a cassette tape, and then someone said you have to pause that, and so you paused it. And then the people came to you and went through the rulemaking and said, okay, push play. That's exactly what will happen here. So in the time wolves have been protected, the state of Wisconsin has chose to freeze everything they were doing, and absolutely it will resume the day that we get the official notice that wolves are no longer protected in Wisconsin. Okay. So no, unfortunately, it won't start over. And in Wisconsin, the the way the wolf hunt law is written, I'm just going to like only take maybe another minute, and I can certainly follow up with you after this.
Yeah, sure.
But the way it's written is that the hunt is mandated. So it's not you could have a hunt, it's you will have a hunt.
I see.
Now we have several strategies to try to work with that, but I'm going to save those for a different time, if that's okay with you.
Oh, yeah,
Happy
fine.
to follow up if people have questions.
No, it's fine.
Okay, so I'm just going to get out of this screen. Also, with these fact sheets that we're going to put up, these are certainly things you could take with you if you're planning on going to the hearing that Ron Johnson is having. So I just want to briefly touch on that so people know what to expect. I guess I could just leave this sheet up. Well, maybe I'll just, oh darn it, if I knew how to work my computer. Sorry about that. So here we have the alert, you know, kind of the general thing, but I do want to just page down, whoops, page up, I guess. Where is it down? Oh, this is the other action alert. I apologize. This is here. Okay, so this is how you get to our things. So I just want to show you this information. Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin decided to do a public hearing, and I say that because there's a caveat. Do a public hearing in Hudson, Wisconsin this Friday. And what, oops, oh wow, I got a gift. Thank you, Zoom. Sorry, everyone. But to have a hearing. So it's at a hotel. He's asked, they invited us to come and participate. But I just want people to know that the hearing is not an official U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service hearing. It is not an official congressional hearing. It is just our senator decided that he wanted to give people an opportunity to do public comment in person. Ron Johnson is pro-delisting, pro-wolf hunt, and anti-Endangered Species Act. I'm sure there are people who would argue that with me, but it's true. So they have this organized. They told us many different things, that yes, you'd have an opportunity to speak, and then no, or that they would go back and forth between pro and con. We don't really know what's going to happen, but certainly this has been organized by the people who want to delist wolves. So a lot of those folks, and I'm not saying this to dissuade anyone, will have some pretty offensive and horrible things to say. And, you know, I just want people to be prepared that, you know, I have a feeling that it'll be a large amount of the hunting community that enjoys trophy hunting and running dogs, and it will be a large, maybe not large, maybe, but a large percent of livestock testimony saying we can't even farm here. Now, what the things I just gave you from the DNR and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, that's not true. So, you know, I just don't want people to be intimidated. One of the things, and I get it, and I really do, that it can be emotionally taxing. Britt, who's on the call, also knows. Gary, I believe, is also on the call, and Mary. We have all given, hi, we have all given testimony and it is difficult. But I guess my suggestion to people is, you know, if anyone were to harass you, to just contact me. I will be wearing a green t-shirt, maybe, if it's nice out, or sweatshirt that has our logo, which you can see here. And I have red hair, and I'm happy to put I think my picture's maybe up on the website somewhere. Maybe it was ugly and I took it down. But you can find me, but definitely don't let them intimidate you. And I guess what I do is, when I'm hearing a lot of like vitriol and disgusting things about an animal that I love and that culturally and spiritually is important to me, I just remember that they are not able to speak at the meeting, and I am, and it's my duty to speak for the voiceless. So sometimes I even will write that mantra on a piece of paper and recite it back to myself when I'm hearing things that make me frankly want to cry sometimes, or make me want to say a lot of very naughty words. Neither is probably good for a public hearing. So I think with that, we can wrap it up. We will, both Britt and myself will be at the hearing, so you can find either of us. And, you know, we may have some other things. If they're not giving us an opportunity, we have some tactics that will ensure that they do. So, you know, we can get into that conversation at the hearing. So I thank everybody for joining. Is there any last questions?
Hi, I don't know, can you hear me?
We can hear you just great.
I'm Sue Mentor. I live in Minnesota.
Hi, Sue.
Hi,
Thanks for joining.
Oh, yes, I love what you do. We have a place
Oh,
in
thank you.
Danbury. We have a place in Danbury, Wisconsin, and a cabin, and I see everything that you're talking about, and it makes me sick up there.
Let me take this awful image off. There we go.
I have a lot of arguments with people in Danbury.
Yeah.
But I'll be there on Friday, and so will my husband.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. And if you have any questions or you need materials, I'll be bringing extras. You can certainly, you know, you'll be there with your husband, but that's not to say that men don't get intimidated as well. You know,
really
if
great facts. I would like to get a copy of those facts.
we'll have it up. We'll have them up on our website. So we'll send a link, and feel free to email me at, I think that's on our website too. Feel free to go on our website and hit contact here. And you can email us at this info, and I'm happy to just email this to you today if you want to get prepared sooner. But again, like just know that we are walking into essentially, I don't want to say they're not going to collect public comment because they have to, or at least they should. But we are walking into a PR event and not necessarily a fair and unbiased hearing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I really like to give them hell, so I'll keep you entertained, I promise. Does anyone else have any comments or questions?
Well, thank you for the information.
Yes.
Oh, sure, you're welcome. Yeah, and also you can, if you're not already, feel free to go on our site, contact, subscribe, and you'll get all of our alerts and updates. We don't always send out bad information. Sometimes we send out really neat things. So feel free to subscribe so that you're staying up to date with we're pretty good at being on top of what's going on as best we can with attacks on our Wisconsin wildlife.
Well, that's one of the reasons I like to follow, because I see news, you know, that I wouldn't otherwise see. So.
Oh, good. Well, you can thank Britt for that. She does most of our social media. If you see things that are goofy and have swear words in it, then it's probably me. And I'm just kidding. But yes, Britt does all this. She does the website, she does our Twitter, and she really does an excellent job keeping us up to date on what's going on. She could say hi. She's hiding. She's hiding in the webinar. But okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and end this. And this was recorded as well, so we'll make sure to get this on our website. I don't think I said anything to embarrass myself. I'll probably rewatch it. But I just want to thank especially the new people who joined. And we will see you on Friday. If we're not, and you're having trouble with the Federal Register, again, feel free to use this contact information to get a hold of us. We actually do respond very rapidly. So, all right, and thank you very much. And I hope you all have a great day. And don't forget that even though we're outpowered, we keep winning. So just keep the faith.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys so much. End meeting.